Chad Kelly fakes a handoff. There he goes. 10-5. Touchdown, Chad Kelly on a quarterback boot end around. A scamper of 33 yards. And the Colts have their first touchdown of the preseason. It's now 17-12 on the legs of Chad Kelly. 9:45 to go in the fourth quarter. Kelly back to throw. Has time, wings it deep downfield, looking for Reese Fountain. Did he catch it? Yes! Reese Fountain with a terrific grab up to the 40-yard line. First down, Colts.
Yes, football is back for the Indianapolis Colts. Bitch about the preseason all you want. It's one day closer to the regular season, people. We are less than a month away, man. Preseason opener kicking off last night for your Indianapolis Colts in Buffalo, and we are back on Kevin's Corner. Joey Molinaro and Kevin Bowen. Joey, we can make fun of the preseason, and at times it is very laughable. And I don't know how you can watch a total 60 minutes of football and not just chuckle at different points of the preseason. But, man, I love it. Like, yeah. It's something. It's real tackling. It's no red jerseys. It's just not the same monotony of practice day after day after day. And I can't wait for this week with the Browns joint practices and just doing it against somebody different and someone you have a little bit of hate and venom towards because they wear a different color jersey than you wear.
That's exactly what I was about to say. You know, the old coach adage, ready to see somebody in a different jersey, ready to hit somebody in a different jersey. But I always say that preseason, it's like when you're putting up the Christmas tree at like the middle of November, right before Thanksgiving, and you're like, man, this is awesome. Christmas is coming. I still got a little bit of ways.
There is. That was really good. And I know you are a big Christmas guy,
yeah,
as I am. So very good analogy there. Yeah, if last night was Thanksgiving, I guess you could call it, maybe a little bit before that. We'll get into our offensive, defensive takeaways from last night. I want to touch a little bit on the depth chart that the Colts released earlier in the week, since we haven't had a podcast in about a week, and then a lot of Twitter questions here on this Friday morning. Let's start here, Joey, before we get into anything else. What's your stance on the preseason? You know, how do you grade it? How do you evaluate it? You got some people in my Twitter mentions that are on DEF CON. You've got some people that are like, why the hell are you tweeting?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the Lions decided it would be a good idea to put out their preseason record being the best in the NFL over the last 4 years.
That was hilarious.
Or whatever it is. Yeah, surprisingly, it wasn't out of satire or a parody account.
No,
at least
I thought
don't
it was an
think.
Onion article headline when I first saw it.
No, they're 12-4. So that just goes to show. Usually, teams that have a lot of success in the preseason doesn't equate to the regular season.
And I said this yesterday, filling in for Dan Dockich. I couldn't care less about the final score. There were several times when I was writing last night after the game, and I'm like, wait, what was the score again? You know, just because I felt like I needed to put it in the story. But it's like, who cares about the final score? It's the same thing we talked about. Pacers Summer League. You evaluate individual players. You evaluate fundamentals. You evaluate technique. I'm not grading Frank Reich and saying, man, that was a really bullshit play call he had on 3rd and 4. Like, from a schematic standpoint, what the hell was he thinking, game planning for the Bills like that? No, there's no preparation or anything like that. You grade individuals, one-on-one matchups. You know, can you create separation, things like that. And as Frank Reich said after the game, we weigh tonight heavier than we weigh practices. It's real. It's bright lights. It's actually live tackling. You have to weigh it a little bit more than what we've seen at Grand Park. And I also think when you see the Colts continually struggle in the preseason, and then you see how they've started regular seasons, you can't sit here and tell me there's not an ounce of carryover between those two items. You know, I mean, just a little bit of sluggishness has been there for this team now for 5 straight regular seasons. You haven't won a season opener since 2013. You're 1-9. 1-9 in the first 2 weeks of the season the last 5 years. That one win, week 2 last year in Washington. So the little bit of sluggishness that we have seen in prior years, and I think we saw it last night from some individuals, that gives me a little bit of pause, just like, all right, is that going to carry over to the regular season again? Just for the start of it. Because the Colts have clearly been, I'd say, one of the a top, 10, 15 team in the NFL over the last 5 years when you group the entire schedule. Yes, you had a bad season a couple years ago, but outside of that, you've been pretty good. But there's a fine balance, and I want to ask Frank Reich this later today on the conference call. He hates the preseason. Like, he's just like, dude, I don't, like, I am not a preseason guy. But then you play up this, we got to start better. We have to get off to a fast start. Last year was inexcusable. He knows the previous year struggles that they've had, 4 straight years of starting 0-2 prior to his arrival. So where's that balance, you know?
It's like if you're running the mini marathon and you're like, man, I hate training so much. And then that day you wake up and you're like, all right, let's go. A lot of energy. Come on, let's bring it.
Can you really expect to have a great performance or something like that?
Yeah,
you know,
maybe,
it's like doing the same thing over and over again, the definition of insanity. So,
on top of that, Kevin, all that you just said, does that make matters worse now with Andrew Luck not having to get his quirks out of the way? Going into week 1, you know, it's going to be likely right now that it's going to be him. I mean, that's his first go round.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as we sit here right now on Friday morning, the 9th, I'd be shocked if he played in the preseason. I can see where you're coming at with that comment. I can also see the polar opposite side of it of like, oh, once Andrew Luck's in there, everything will be cured.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess, but it's not like Andrew Luck hasn't been a part of some of these 0-2 starts. So, again, we will grade individuals, not scheme, not final score, and that's how I really want to go about things here on today's Kevin's Corner. And before we get into offense and defense stuff, Joey, the best part of last night probably, no injuries outside of Jalen Collins getting a little nicked up, and it looked like Collins was talking to guys after the game on the field. He didn't look to be in too much distress or anything like that. And last year at this time, we were talking about a torn ACL for Deion Kane and Marlon Mack suffering a hamstring injury and going to be out, you know, for some of the regular season. So that is the best news coming out of last night.
We mentioned Deion Kane. We'll start with the offensive takeaways from Thursday night's game in Buffalo. Deion Kane was back out there. You saw some of the new additions out there. Of course, no Andrew Luck. What'd you take away?
Yeah, let's go kind of in the progression of how the game unfolded. So let's start with the starters, and I put that in quotes because obviously we saw a slew of offensive starters out. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of guys that you will start week 1 that started last night. Funchess, Nelson. I was kind of surprised he played. Mark Glowinski and Braden Smith. So 4 of 11 is what you had on offense last night. I liked the early crossing route to Devin Funchess. I thought that was smart just to get Jacoby Brissett, try to get him, I guess, into a bit of a rhythm. But I thought the offensive line was terrible. And honestly, some of your returners were the biggest culprits. We know LaRaven Clark isn't any good, but when you see Quentin Nelson getting beat on the first play of the game for a holding penalty, and then you see Braden Smith getting whipped on a 3rd and 9, that is like, man, you need better from that group. And Frank Reich was about as pissed as you're going to see Frank Reich after the game about the offensive line's effort and just the run game's effort. Nyheim Hines, 6 carries, 1 yard.
Yeah, he was mad at the line all night.
And I mean, I think it's more the line than Hines. I mean, from some of those holes I saw, I didn't see many holes out there at all for Nyheim Hines. And Frank Reich was very adamant after the game. You can be vanilla in the run game, and you can still go win your one-on-one blocks. I just thought the offensive line got pushed back way too much. You had Josh Andrews starting for Ryan Kelly, LaRaven Clark starting for Anthony Costanzo. So I know that frustrated Reich a lot. I mean, outside of the Funchess 15-yard drag route, I want to say you had 10 plays for 7 yards for the starting offense. And again, I put starting in quotes. 3 series for Jacoby Brissett. He was under duress. I think a lot of times he threw. I didn't like where he didn't lead Devin Funchess on the second ball that he threw to him on a 3rd down. Maybe could have been a 1st down. Who knows there. But, yeah, not good at all for the starting offense. I would say the best moments we saw from the offense, it happened really kind of late second quarter and then into the second half. Deion Kane, Joey, I think we've kind of accurately described what we've seen from him in the 11 practices at Grand Park. I think you saw that last night. You saw a guy make a nice catch on a hitch route. You saw a beautiful toe tap near the Colts sideline, I think in one of those 2-minute drives to end the first half. That, again, you watch that play and you're like, wait, that dude tore his ACL a year ago? Like, that was fluid. That was spry. That's a guy that just looks athletic. Now, you saw a drop, pretty blatant drop. And you saw a ball in the end zone that, 50-50 play that I think Deion Kane feels like a great play by the Buffalo defender. But, this time last year, I think Deion Kane was probably making that play prior to the ACL. So you saw a mixed bag, but the biggest part is just you saw him back on the field. And I think that there's got to be a confidence hurdle that he cleared last night of bright lights, full pads, I'm going to the ground, I'm getting tackled, I'm being targeted. These are the enemies that I'm going up against. It's not friendly fire in your own practice. So last night to me was still a very positive step forward for Deion Kane. Frank Reich talked after the game. Now it's time to expand him. Expand that role. We haven't seen a lot of starting reps in camp for him just yet. So I think that is going to be coming now in the next few weeks. I would say the three biggest names that helped themselves offensively last night, Joey, in no certain order. Swag Kelly, Chad, Jonathan Williams, the running back.
Ballard's guy.
Ballard's guy, for sure, Ballard's guy. And then Reese Fountain. And let's just go in order, quarterback to wideout. Chad Kelly showed me some toughness last night, hanging in the pocket, delivering balls on target when he's getting smoked. I mean, Philip Walker looked bad, man, really bad. I mean, you've been out there at a decent amount of practices. He hasn't looked that. I mean, there were some elementary, basic 3-step, 5-step throws. Philip Walker's not getting on target. He should have been picked off probably twice, maybe 3 times. And then Chad comes in the game, and the mobility was impressive because you don't really know. He's shown some plays where he's kept things alive at camp, but he's wearing a red jersey. Last night, he's scrambling his ass off. I mean, he's running around there, creating plays. And
are you surprised at how small he looks out there? When he was at Ole Miss, I felt like he was a big guy.
I've always said he kind of looks like a rocked up safety.
Yeah,
he's
like a Tom Zibikowski type.
Yeah, he's kind of like 6'1", 6'2", probably 215. He's got a thicker frame to him than I think what you're used to most, prototypical quarterbacks of 6'4" and 220 or whatever you want.
6'2".
What's his weight? He looked
209.
Pretty quick. 209.
209.
He looked pretty quick, man. But yeah, I just liked what Chad Kelly showed. That had to be a big game for him. Going back to Buffalo, everything he's been through, self-inflicted. I'm not trying to act like he had a serious death in the family and that's really impacted him. No. This could be his last chance. And I guess we'll wait till Twitter questions to maybe get into the Chad Kelly, Philip Walker debate more. But I think it's obvious. Chad Kelly looked very good last night, and Philip Walker looked terrible, to be honest. Jonathan Williams, Joey, coming into the night, I'm like, all right, what are the Colts doing at running back? Jordan Wilkins is out, and that ankle injury is something that I think worth monitoring. He's been in and out of camp practices. Yeah. Half the practices he's in, it seems like he doesn't get 5 minutes into practice before a trainer is looking at his ankle, retaping it or doing something. And I like Wilkins a lot, but that third running back spot to me is wide open. We know Marlon Mack's your 1. We know Nyheim Hines is I guess he's your 2, but he's more of your third down back. That third running back, if Marlon Mack has an injury, that guy could almost go from barely in the offensive game plan to 15 carries a game. And I thought Jonathan Williams looked good. 217 pounds. I think he plays bigger than that. I just loved how he absorbed contact. Guys kind of bounced off him. He, instead of falling down, he's falling forward and getting 2 or 3 yards. I liked what he did in the passing game. Chris Ballard, he was hinting at it all off season long, and I was a fan of Jonathan Williams last night. Well, unfortunately, we didn't see Deontay Foreman. Frank Reich was, pretty much said it's going to have to take the right scenario for him to get in the game, but
Just talking about last night.
Yeah. He got in at 1 a.m. Tuesday night. I guess we haven't talked about Foreman, have we, on this podcast? My Foreman thoughts are this, Joey. He needed to get out of Houston. Needed to get out of there. Went to high school around that area. From what I've heard, he's got one of the crazy dads. One of those.
Oh, really?
I'm in the stands and you're going to hear me sort
like
of situations.
Boobie Miles' uncle.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, Jack Doyle's just a different breed. And think about it. Jack Doyle wasn't drafted by his hometown team. He didn't play that first offseason in his hometown. He went through training camp and preseason with the Titans. And Jack Doyle's even mentioned before, at times it can be overwhelming. Like, I just can't get tickets like this. And I'm not the person to be going through this. I think it's also a misconception like NFL players just have access to like all these free tickets. They don't really.
The Colts are still trying to make money.
Yeah, they can buy tickets, but that is part of the process. So, Jonathan Williams, you're a third-round pick. You've never been out of the state of Texas in your football career outside of some road games. You've played for the University of Texas. You were drafted by the Texans in the third round. So, I think the change of scenery could do him well. Obviously, you're worried about the work ethic. And I think more importantly, you're worried about the damn torn Achilles.
Yeah.
The guy put 7 carries last year for -1 yards. I mean, he hasn't done anything physically of note since the Achilles. Now, you look at what he did his senior year, his last year at Texas. Doak Walker Award winner, ran for 2,000 yards. I mean, there's reasons why the Colts put a claim in for him. And like I said, I think there is a roster spot potentially open. I still think Jordan Wilkins and Jonathan Williams have the head start there, but I'm anxious to see Foreman in practice in some preseason games the next couple weeks. And then lastly, Joey, Reese Fountain, his best night as a professional football player, bar none. And that bar wasn't very high coming into last night, but he exceeded it big time. It is the consistency for Reese Fountain. That is the exact term you have to use with him the rest of the month. On Tuesday, was it Tuesday? It might have been Monday. We talked to coordinators, and I asked Nick Sirianni. It was one of those practices where Fountain flashed. He had the big catch, but then earlier in practice, Sirianni's yelling at him because he's not lined up pre-snap where he should be. So I asked Sirianni that question of just, all right, what's next? Because we've seen flashes now for 3 or 4 days. And with every Reese Fountain answer, Frank Reich had the similar answer last night when asked about him after the game. You see why we drafted him. You see the flash. Now it's time to string it together. Week in, week out, be a consistent football player. Earn the trust. Do what Nyheim Hines did last year. When Hines was struggling on special teams, he still earned the trust in an offensive capacity with Andrew Luck and Frank Reich. Reese Fountain's got to earn that. Because if there's an injury on game day to Devin Funchess, and you've got to go into the game, Colts can't be having a pre-snap issue. It could be a 3rd and 7 that's the biggest play of the game. You've got to know your role and be a consistent presence. And I think 5 catches last night, huge. 2 things stood out to me also about Reese Fountain last night. When did he go in the game? Late. Very late. I started doing a little number crunching. He's probably the 8th or 9th wideout on this depth chart right now. We know Hilton didn't play. We know Campbell didn't play. Think about your starters. Funchess, Pascal, Rogers. So there's 5 wideouts already. Then who's the next wave of wideouts that win in the game? Deion Kane, Krishan Hogan, Marcus Johnson, who I thought Hogan and Johnson also had some pretty good nights as well. So Fountain's down on the depth chart, man. So he's got a lot of climbing to do. And also it comes down to special teams. I tried to find him on some of those units last night. Didn't notice a whole lot of great. Didn't notice a whole lot of awful either. But that's what it comes down to. And Reese Fountain has had a great last week. Bad first week at camp. Great last week. Now can you string it together and make Chris Ballard think? We need to keep 6, not 5 wide out. Things like that.
What happens if he just has an average one? Doesn't stand out, but he's not making too many mistakes. It's just kind of there.
I think he's got to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be consistent with the flash, with just the reliability. And then I go back to special teams. He's got to provide that. Because right now, to me, 5 receivers are still a lock. Chester Rogers has moved into lock category for me.
Wow.
Based off his special teams presence as a return man, and also with Paris Campbell out for the last 7 practices, there's been Chester Rogers as your slot receiver every day. And this is just not me on my own ledge. I know some people are done with Chester Rogers. Go listen to Nick Sirianni talk about him. Because on that same day we asked about for Reese Fountain and consistency, he gave the polar opposite answer for Chester Rogers, saying that guy has earned our trust. And look, that goes a long, long way with any coaching staff.
All right, let's flip it over. What stood out to you on the defensive side of the ball?
I thought they were better than the offense, starting-wise. I guess let's start there.
Yeah.
When they were in man coverage, I thought some good moments from Quincy Wilson, Rock Yassin, Bobby Okereke, and Anthony Walker had a couple nice kind of fills in the run game. The pass rush was non-existent in the obvious passing situations. Like one of my takeaways from last night is, why were the Bills' backup quarterbacks so much more accurate than the Colts' backup quarterbacks? And why were the Bills' offensive tackles better than the Colts' offensive tackles? Like, the Colts' offensive tackles were terrible. Jackson Barton just got whipped, the rookie 7th-round pick out of Utah. So, yeah, I would have liked – there was like a 2nd and 19. I think on the second drive, maybe it was the first drive. No pass rush. There's a 13-yard gain to make it a 3rd and 6. 3rd and 6, you just discipline in the run game, not existent pass rush game. You just go straight upfield. Josh Allen scrambles for 7 yards. First down. You go from 2nd and 19 to relatively stress-free. You are moving the chains if you're the Bills. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more there. The starters you had out there, the week 1 starters, you had Margiz Hunt.
I think you say it. It's just you say it so quickly
Fast,
that people hear
like
it, Marcus. But I know you're saying Margiz.
Margiz.
Yeah.
The pride of Estonia. In the starting lineup, the only defensive lineman, well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe Al-Qadim Muhammad starts week 1 for Jabal Sheard, but no Justin Houston, no Danico Autry, no Darius Leonard, no Kenny Moore, no Clayton Geathers. But you saw Malik Hooker, Pierre Desir. I kind of thought that was a little odd that he started.
Kari Willis was out there.
Kari Willis and just a few shaky moments, but he started for Clayton Geathers.
On that first drive, there was a couple times you're like, oh, God.
Yeah, one of those. And I think there was also busted coverage that Rick Venturi pointed out pretty well. I think that was a Quincy Wilson thinking he should have been in man and not. They should have been in cover 2. But it looked like Kari kind of got beat on that play. I thought you had better rushing moments later in the first half. I thought Tyquan Lewis was pretty effective. He was playing into the third quarter, which I was like, oh, that's a little scary. Like, that guy's pretty important for you. Kamoko Turi had a couple rushes, but again, I wanted to see a little bit more pop from him earlier in the game going up against Buffalo's starting offense. Probably the best defensive player, at least stat line-wise, was Carroll Phillips. I think 2 sacks, a recovered fumble. A lot of right place at the right time.
Had he done anything in camp so far? I feel like I had not seen or heard that at all.
Yeah,
at least when I've been up
not
there.
a whole lot. Now, he was on your 53-man roster at times last year, so I think the Colts are intrigued by something, but there's just so much depth of that defensive end position. I can't see him making the team. And again, the sacks last night, I hate to diminish the guy because 2 sacks and a recovered fumble, part of it is being in the right place at the right time. Like, you're doing something that 10 other guys on your defense aren't doing, but also it's not like it's this incredible speed rush and he's sacking Josh Allen from the blind side. Like, it was a little bit of right place at the right time for Carroll Phillips. So,
what about EJ Speed?
Yeah, couple moments for sure from him. Some other moments where I was like, okay, the physicality of Tarleton State is showing up. But he made a really nice play in space, and Devin Singletary. The Bills got a lot of depth at running back. TJ Yeldon, I forgot, was there. The rugby guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was wild. He was fast.
shot out of a cannon.
Holy smokes.
Oh, my God.
The way he took the handoff, it looked like he was a rugby player.
Yeah.
But then when he got going,
It was like, whoa. Frank Gore?
Yeah.
Playing in week 1 of the preseason. Probably something he hasn't done in a while. TJ Yeldon, like I mentioned, Devin Singletary, a guy I think a lot of people like coming out of Florida Atlantic in the draft. Speed made a nice tackle on him in space. So, I thought the defense was better. Trying to think of anyone else that really stood out to me. I had Grover Stewart had a couple moments as well.
Any takeaways from Rocky Scene's first go round?
Yeah, again, I think when he's in man coverage, Joey, the guy is a good football player. When he gets in his zone, I think it's a bit of a disservice to his game. He can't really show off that full skill set. Now, part of that's like you got to learn it, Rock, if you want to play consistently. And I've said this a lot about the Rock Yassin versus Quincy Wilson third cornerback debate. It's still Quincy Wilson getting that first starting action when they go to the nickel group. Quincy Wilson has had a pretty good camp. Like, Rock Yassin has just made a play every freaking day. I can't wait to watch him go up against the Browns and to expose. I want to see him more against T.Y. Hilton in practice. But there's been a couple times in the red zone a few days ago, him and Devin Funchess, no separation from Devin Funchess against Rock Yassin. And Rock holds his own and forces an incompletion. Now, part of that's, I don't think Devin Funchess has looked like a $10 million guy consistently in camp, but Rock's holding his own, man. And it's, I've said this before about watching Rock now, 11 practices in. So many times when he's targeted, I think he's the receiver on the play. Like, he's in that perfect position to make a better play on the ball than the intended receiver. And that's rare.
Do we have a possible cat coverage guy here?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think so. Now, to be fair to Pierre Desir.
You got that cat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The shadow role.
Yeah.
I mean, Pierre Desir did a nice job late last season with DeAndre Hopkins and Amari Cooper, but you'd love to have more of them. And there were some times last night where I like the Fox telecast gave us some quick all 22 looks of the man coverage stuff. So I think you are going to see a little bit more man. So Rock Yassin looks like a very, very good professional football player.
That's music to all the Colts fans' ears here this weekend as they're listening to it. And love when your first pick of the draft is starting to look good, that's for sure.
As they should.
Yeah, and you mentioned Quincy Wilson. We were just talking about Rock Yassin. That's going to be a battle to take place on the depth chart for sure. You've got an article up on 1075thefan.com looking at the first official release of the Colts depth chart. What do you think so far? Did Thursday night change any of that?
Yeah, I don't want to touch too long on this subject. Let's definitely push people to the 1075thefan.com article that you just referenced, Joey, for more takeaways from the depth chart. But a couple of things stand out to me. When does Paris Campbell get healthy? Because that's going to impact his role as a rookie. Is he just a gadget hybrid guy, or can he be a every down sort of slot receiver, or is that going to be Chester Rogers? That was the main takeaway offensively for me. Defensively, it was really odd. The Colts put Tyquan Lewis as a starting nose tackle ahead of, I think, Marcus Hunt. I'm like, that's not true. Bobby Okereke and Anthony Walker. Let's continue to watch that starting battle. Last night, for what it's worth, Okereke took the starting mic reps, which Walker didn't take the starting mic reps. That could just be more of the Colts are like, we know what Anthony Walker can do as a mic. Let's let Bobby Okereke take more of those in-game mic reps. Like you said, Joey, that third corner, I think, is a huge, huge battle to watch moving forward. And I'm interested to see, as the rest of the month plays out, just what the pass rush group looks like. I still think that's a little bit up in the air, how that certainly develops here in the next few weeks. And again, for the most part, you've stayed away from that big injury. Yes, we have the injury watch in Andrew Luck. I think we kind of, harped on that a lot yesterday, or on, last week's podcast. And then also the Jabal Sheard situation. What do you do there with Al-Qadim Muhammad taking those reps?
You want to hop into some Twitter questions? First game of 2019 Twitter questions.
Oh, boy. That has me scared.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's start with Stan. He says, thought this might take more concentration than putting you on the spot on the pod. Rank in order of likelihood of having on the initial 53-man roster. 3rd QB, 4th running back, 6th wide receiver, 4th tight end, 10th offensive lineman, 6th cornerback, and the 5th safety.
Oh, my God. Stan, man. All right. I think 4th running back seems to be pretty likely. What's he say on the DBs? 5th safety?
5th safety, 6th corner.
Yeah, I think you go. I think you definitely go 6th corner. I would probably say 5th safety's up next, 10th offensive lineman. In Chris Ballard's eyes, he'd love to do that, but again, I don't think it's necessary. I don't know why. Can't you put an offensive lineman on your practice squad? You know, I don't know. Then I'll go 6th wideout. Then I'll go 3rd quarterback. But honestly, the 3rd quarterback debate's fascinating. And all of it's dependent on Andrew Luck's calf. If he doesn't participate in the preseason, would you dress a 3rd quarterback week 1?
I think you kind of have to.
And when are they willing to share that information? That's something you have to look at too. Do you continue to have, again, Chad Kelly suspended for the first 2 weeks of the regular season. So do you bring Phillip Walker onto your 53 right away, or do you sign him to the practice squad, make the Chargers believe that it's Luck and Brissett, that's it, you aren't worried about Luck's health, and then you promote Phillip Walker on Saturday morning of that Chargers game as an insurance policy?
Richard, you and I both had mentioned being high on Ward. Is he standing out in your opinion during training camp?
I don't know if I would say standing out, but I mean there have been moments for him. You know, he's also a guy coming off a pretty serious injury, so I think he will. I think he'll make the team. You could maybe roster crunch a number there, but I would say Tyquan Lewis is definitely in a better place, and Grover Stewart than Jahad Ward.
Benji wants to know, when will you be joining me on the Reese Fountain hype train? There's a seat open right beside me.
Oh, Benji. When he shows me more consistency. I mean,
he doesn't play against a bunch of practice squad guys.
When he's doing it in the 2nd and 3rd quarter of preseason games and not the 4th quarter. Yeah, I think it's all about, again, the consistency for Reese Fountain. I couldn't agree more with this coaching staff. I mean, what he showed you last year was nothing. I mean, he was terrible last year. He
Literally
admits
nothing.
it. He was awful last year. And so he needs to string things together before I'm getting on any sort of hype train with Reese Fountain. For me, it is do it against, more maybe some second teamers against the Browns. Do it against the Cleveland Browns in those joint practices. Because that's, I think, how you evaluate some of these guys also in the preseason opener. Last night was huge for Reese Fountain because a lot of these young guys, they won't play as much in the next 2 weeks. Your starter is going to play a little bit more. Your frontline guys are going to play a little bit more. And if you wait all the way to the preseason finale, that might be too little too late. 48 hours later, they're going to be cutting down to 53. So last night was huge for Reese Fountain, and now it's can you do it against better competition and do it consistently.
Matt asks, how much of a lock is Toure to make the 53-man roster? He says Phillips flashed when healthy last year, and so he did again on Thursday night. Sheared status looms large, but at full health, I don't see a spot for both Toure and Phillips.
Oh yeah, I mean Toure's making the team over Carroll Phillips. Yeah, let's not get carried away there. Did Carroll Phillips really flash when he was healthy? I barely remember Carroll Phillips being on the team.
Like I said, I first I heard of him was last night.
Yeah, I mean Kamoko Toure had 4 sacks when he was playing last year,
Yeah.
so I think he definitely flashed. So nice work from Carroll Phillips, solid, but it's got to be more than just one night. I mean Caesar Rayford 2.0.
From Zach, with all the hype surrounding Deion Kane, statistically 6th-round picks have trouble making the team, let alone making an impact. What are the reasons someone like Kane slips so far in the draft? What did teams see in college that scared them off?
It's a great question. I asked Chris Ballard this. He doesn't have a very good answer. I mean, look, the Colts took Reese Fountain over Deion Kane. They drafted Reese Fountain in a round earlier than him. Now, I think Ballard's mentioned before they didn't want to take any character risks that early. And I just don't look at Reese or Deion Kane as having like bold-faced character risks. I think he's a guy that, yes, he was sent home from the national championship game for smoking, I believe, as a freshman. That's a red flag. But then the next 2 years, he seemed clean.
It's like a yellow flag.
Yeah. I mean, it's a red flag in the sense of like, oh my gosh, he's a freshman, he's doing this. Like, what's it going to lead to?
Yeah.
But then when you're clean the next 2 years, that red flag changes colors big time.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, if you're smoking before Louisiana Monroe, I don't really care. You're smoking in the national title game. Come on, man. Like,
That's true.
That would be my concern. But I'm still stunned that he fell that far. I mean, I'm shocked. 20 touchdowns in 3 years at Clemson. Has the height, has the speed. Like what? I don't know. It doesn't add up to me why he fell that far.
Casey with a K, what was more concerning? The below average O-line play or the lack of a pass rush? Or neither because it's preseason game 1?
I think you would like to have seen better from Braden Smith and Quentin Nelson. I know it's just a couple plays for those guys, but you would like to have seen a little bit better from your starting offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. It's the same reason why people in Buffalo right now are probably praising what Trent Murphy did on that third down sack.
Right.
If Kamoko Terry would have done that on the first series of the game against Cody Ford or whoever was Buffalo's starting tackle, we would be praising him right now. So the pass rush, I probably didn't expect a whole lot. You had 3 starters out on that front line, but I would say just you would like to have seen better from, again, the individuals on your starting offensive line that obviously you expect to start week 1.
Cody Felger. Kevin changes his Twitter avatar or Chris Ballard doesn't say look in his next press conference. What's the better option or the better odds?
Oh, 100% Ballard saying look in the next press conference.
No, he doesn't say look.
Oh. Well, I'm not changing the Twitter profile anytime soon.
That's a tough one, man.
Takes too much work.
That's a real tough one.
Boy, Cody promised last night he was going to bring some heat.
From Clayton Clifford, who is the better preseason quarterback, Chad Kelly or Stephen Morris? Is Chad Kelly eligible for the practice squad?
Yes, he is. That is big news. I'm sure a lot of people are curious about that. Yes, he is. And honestly, I think that might be the best route for him this year. Groom him on that practice squad, make sure he stays out of trouble. And for what it's worth, Frank Reich said last night that Chad Kelly has been A+ off the field, which is key.
Those Uber cards are paying off.
Uber cards are paying off, and you've been out there at camp. Is there a guy that comes out to practice earlier or stays later than Chad Kelly?
Nah, the other day he was punting the ball and then running after it. I mean, he was doing it all.
He looked like Bobby Boucher.
He did.
Right there. Like, what was he doing?
I'm not sure. I think he was trying to avoid the press.
Something.
Yeah.
He literally punted the ball in the air and ran after it like I would do at a Notre Dame, like going into a Notre Dame game.
Yeah, like a tailgate.
Just walking on campus when I was 12 years old.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do to make a roster spot. He could be a gunner, could be a little backup punter, a little pooch kick.
The more you can do,
right.
Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly, Stephen Morris. Man, Stephen Morris had some nice moments. I'm curious to see how they play out the preseason with Chad Kelly's reps. Because, again, he can't be there for the start of the regular season. So what's the balance in evaluating Phillip Walker, who could potentially be dressing week 1, versus Chad Kelly, who by the time Chad Kelly is eligible to play, maybe Andrew Luck's fully healed and you don't need a third quarterback.
Yeah. From Anton, how annoying is Sean McDermott by freezing kickers and challenging pass interference in preseason? Also, I didn't have the opportunity to tell Joey, told you the Cardinals won the series, which is fine, Anton, because they're 4 games back in 3rd place. So enjoy that series.
Kicked my Reds' ass last night, man. The Reds had a catcher pitching late in the game.
Yeah.
Javi Baez was batting left-handed. That's when you know the game's out of control.
Sean
McDermott icing kickers. That might have been my biggest yell last night during the game. What the hell? Why? What are you learning? Why?
Sean McDermott seems like one of those just ultimate football guys.
Challenging pass interference calls, I'm good with. You need to learn how that letter of the law is going to be instituted this year because there's so much gray area. I'm okay with that. Icing a kicker to end the first half, If I'm Cole Hedlund, I just give him the bird.
Yeah.
Just make it, give him the bird, and run in the locker room. Cole Hedlund looks like he's 12.
All the kickers they bring in, dude. Who's the one last year who got a job with the Chargers?
Bagley.
Yes,
Oh
Michael Bagley.
He looked like he was out there for Westfield Junior High's 8th grade field trip to Grand Park.
Daryl, I Bleed Blue Smith asked, did Reich force the run too much, or should we mix it up more?
Daryl, I gotta laugh, man. I the day I questioned Frank Reich in his schematic game plans in the preseason is the day that I need to just tone it back a little bit. He didn't force the run. He's trying to run the football. He wants to see his offensive line reestablish a line of scrimmage that's a yard or two past the line of scrimmage. Like, as Frank Reich said after the game, you can be as vanilla as you want. That still was inexcusable, that rushing effort from the starting offense. So, no, I don't think he forced the run game too much.
Mo Cox, Mo Problems, not so much for Andrew Fisher. He says, is it just me or does Mo Alley Cox seem overhyped? I like the guy, but it seems like he disappears in a game other than that one-handed catch against the Raiders.
That was a great catch, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mo Alley Cox is really young in his football career. I think and there have been a few drops at camp. He only has 7 career catches, Joey.
Yeah, he's like a baby giraffe.
He really is.
You don't really know, but
I mean, he's young. He's played 9 games in his NFL career. So I think I've always said this about Mo Alley Cox. I think he'll factor into some 3 tight end sets this year, but it's really a big projection for him in 2020. I'm not sitting here saying draft him in round 10 of your fantasy league. No. It's okay if he shows you more promise this year. Is that steady growth to where you feel like Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle, you don't need to bring both of them back in free agency? So there's development he's still very raw. So yeah, I guess maybe we should. I don't think I am saying there are outrageous expectations for him, but I guess we should temper some of that.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't realize he only had 7 catches.
7 catches, yeah. He's only played 9 games.
2 or 3 for touchdowns?
I think 1. I think Oakland was it.
He scored against Buffalo, didn't he?
Was that Swope?
I thought Swope and
Cox did. I know he dropped a touchdown one game. I don't know, but 1 or 2. Okay. I don't think it's 3.
From Laura, what's the holdup, if any, on an extension for Anthony Costanzo?
That's a good question. I think it's something. You are right, Joe. He does have 2 touchdowns. Mo Alley. I don't think you see. Maybe you see it right before the start of the regular season. He's a guy that signed his original extension. I think it was like the Friday before the first regular season game. And this could be twofold. Do the Colts just want to make sure he can stay healthy this year? Does Anthony Costanzo want to bet on himself? I wouldn't. I think it'd be more the former than the latter. But I don't think it's an absolute must by any means to get it done. Maybe again, Chris Bauer is like, all right, I just want you to show that you can be healthy because, if there is another injury situation like he had last year, you might say, all right, I don't want to give you a 3-year deal. I want to give you a 1 or 2 year deal, something like that.
From Rob, of the players you think won't make the 53-man roster, which ones get picked up by another team?
That's a good question. Maybe Jalen Collins, maybe a Reese Fountain. I don't know if Reese is, has earned just automatic 53-man roster at some place in the NFL just yet.
What about Zach Pascal?
Yeah, I think, if you keep 6 receivers, Joey, I think Pascal could make it. Pascal is, I think that's a good name. If you cut a Jihad Ward, if you cut a Carroll Phillips, and Carroll Phillips continues to impress, those are some names that come to mind.
Cody Hughes wants to know, how in the world do you cut this wide receiver group down to 6? Kane, Pascal, and Fountain are all valuable with upside and probably can't be hidden away on a practice squad. Do you try to trade one of them to get value?
Well, if you're going to trade one, you don't expect much value in return because at the end of the day, these people know that you're going to cut them. So why should I give up significant value for that player? I have an article going up on 1075thefan.com very soon, and it's about the receiver depth. And like I've said on this podcast before, I think 4 are stone cold locks, and I think Chester Rogers has he's got the lock that we all had on our college door. You know, you're pretty sure it works, but man, if the roommate's drunk enough,
you could bust that thing down.
He's gonna bust that thing down,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
Do you feel me out on that?
Yeah.
You know, kind of close, but not like he's got a lock of a mansion in Carmel.
Sure.
Sort of thing. Frank Reich has mentioned before, 4 or 5 receivers. But there's some chatter that the Colts could keep a 6th. I still think if there are a couple injuries that arise, 6 receivers to me is a bit of a luxury. But I keep on coming back to Zach Pascal. Just reliability. You know, Chris Ballard doesn't just go out of his way to talk about Zach Pascal just to do it. He doesn't do that with Reese Fountain, or hasn't done that with Reese Fountain. Now, maybe what Reese Fountain's done the last week will shift some minds. But right now, I think Sean Hogan, Marcus Johnson, Reese Fountain, some years they would have made this 53-man roster, for sure. But right now, I think they're on the outside looking in.
From Michael, give me 3 total overreactions to last night's game. Lukewarm takes are unwelcome.
Oh, he wants to cook crazy. Reese Fountain, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, my God. These are nuclear.
Nuclear. Chad Kelly and Andrew Luck, quarterback competition. And Carroll Phillips will be the Colts all-time franchise sack leader.
Wow. You were not playing any games there, man. Bravo.
Global warming is real.
Bravo.
It's hot. Yeah, might as well come score. Isn't that what he wanted? He didn't say lukewarm.
Man, I can't even imagine what lukewarm would look like
No.
compared to that now. That's unreal.
Scorching hot right there. Week 1 overreaction like none other. Again, we're going to put some stock into the preseason. We're not going to put a whole... Darius Leonard grayed out as an F in the preseason opener last year. An F.
Really?
An F. Yes.
In Seattle?
In Seattle. Loafs, missed assignments, all of it.
Oh, inside the Colts organization.
Right,
I thought you were
right.
talking like Baldy's breakdowns. I was like, Baldy.
No. This is what Matt Eberflus, his impressions of Darius Leonard in that game. So there are other case studies where you look at them individually and they didn't show up in the preseason and they never showed up ever. So case by case, don't care about the score. Let's all take a deep breath.
From Lucas, Chad Swag Kelly had a good game yesterday. Against reserves, though. Should he move up on the depth chart past Walker? Does he have a chance to make the 53-man roster, or is the practice squad the best he can hope for with the Colts?
You know, we've touched on some of that already. Again, it's a tough situation to where you have the whole, he's out the first 2 games of the season. So how many reps do you want to give him here in the preseason? I'll be very curious to see how much Jacoby Brissett plays moving forward in the preseason, and just the breakdown of Phillip Walker snaps versus Chad.
I-74 football chimes in. What's your take on the running back depth chart? Ware's gone, and now it seems like Wilkins, Foreman, and Williams are battling it out for the 3-4 jobs. Who has the edge?
Sorry, give that to me one more time. Tiger just withdrew
From?
This tournament in New York he's playing in. He's just got to rest all year, man.
I mean, he won the Masters, so
yeah, just rest.
Just rest until next April.
Masters 2020. We're good. Chill.
From I-74 football.
Sorry, what was the previous one, or is this the one?
This is the one. Okay. This is the one. What's your take on the running back depth chart? Seems like it's Wilkins, Foreman, and Williams battling it out for the 3-4 jobs.
Yes, I think that's accurate there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much spot on there. Yeah, I think that's good.
Official YOLO swag, Quentin Nelson was getting beat a lot yesterday, so you think he was playing seriously or not?
Oh, no. Really? We're going to question if Quentin Nelson was playing seriously?
People are very concerned. He's had a little bit more of a social life in the offseason. People are the alarms are sounding.
God, I mean, if you're going to play an NFL game and you're going to put a helmet on and you're going to put shoulder pads on, if you don't play seriously, you might as well just be ready to be on injured reserve for the next 6 months. Like, he got beat. Quentin Nelson got beat at times last year.
See, this is what I feel bad for him and Darius Leonard, because now every time that Leonard doesn't have 18 tackles and a forced fumble and Quentin Nelson doesn't pancake somebody that goes viral, all of a sudden the sky's falling on these two guys.
Yeah, I actually agree with a lot of what you just said there. I think was it Ed Oliver that beat him on the first play of the game for the holding penalty?
I'm not sure.
And if it was, Ed Oliver's a top 10 pick. Like,
he's a rookie. He's got some juice. It's his first.
yeah.
I'm
not gonna freak out about Quentin Nelson. I'm not gonna sit here and say that Quentin Nelson took last night's game. He wasn't serious when he got on the football field.
Yeah. From IU fan in Texas, how many players do you feel are impacted by preseason games? The key players are set, and many of the two deep spots are set. Aren't you really only talking about 4 to 5 spots this year for that are up for grabs for this team?
Maybe a hair more. I think it's a 6 to 7. I think what you also have to remember is this. Guys are competing for spots where they're an injury away from now making that 53-man roster. Like, yeah, you might be 58 right now, but if the guy ahead of you on the depth chart is out for 2 months, now you're on the team. So I think, not to sound so cliche here, but you are competing to be that next man up sort of thing of, okay, it's now my time if an injury happens. We saw how much the Colts used the practice squad last year. I mean, they were very frequent users of that. So, yeah, in terms of hardcore 53-man roster spots, I could probably comfortably write 45 or 46 names on that right now, but there's still a lot of decisions to make over the next few weeks.
Peter Pax wants to know, after last night, do you think Fountain is over Chester Rogers?
No, not at all, Peter. No, not even close.
Maybe on the sideline he's like, "Oh, I'm over him."
Yeah.
That's about as close as being over him that he is.
I was going to say that's about it. I mean, and to be honest, Peter, they played 2 totally different positions.
True.
Reese Fountain's an outside receiver. Chester Rogers a slot.
Jason Wright, what, if any, undrafted free agents have caught your eye?
Well, not a whole lot. There's only 6 on the roster, which is crazy. Penny Hart's been hurt a lot, and Cole Headland's a kicker. So you might as well go down to 4. God, it's sad. I can probably name all the undrafted free agents off the top of my head. I would say Hale Henches and Shaquille Taylor have been the names that I've noticed the most. Henches, the tight end out of Alabama, and Shaquille Taylor, the corner out of Kansas. Sirianni told a funny story a few days ago about Hale Henches. Sirianni went up to George Odom in practice and was like, dude, you guys can't guard him. One-on-one routes, you can't guard Hale Henches. And, kind of got into a little bit of back and forth with some of those chirpy defensive backs. And Sirianni was like, look, we all see Hale Henches. He's not the most athletic guy from a catching the football standpoint. We knew he was a great blocker at Alabama as that number 2 tight end. I only think he had like 15 grabs in his career. But there's been some nice moments from him in camp, and not to go with the, he's a white tight end, he blocks well, not to go with like the stereotypical Jack Doyle comparison. And Sirianni, I think, was like hesitant to go there just because he knew it's like, here comes, Gordon Hayward out of college. Let's compare him to, or here comes some 6'8" white wing out of college. Let's compare him to Gordon Hayward. Like, there is some Jack Doyle in Hale Henches.
Yeah, maybe some Ben Utek or some.
Sure.
Who was the other one?
Brian Fletcher?
Yeah, there it is.
Brian Fletcher. Yeah, Fletcher had that huge catch on one of the early plays of that historic drive to send the Colts to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. From Skoog. Always nice when Skoog chimes in. I just got out of prison, and I'm putting a team together for one last score so that me and my smoking hot model wife can live in a luxury in a small Mediterranean town. What 5 Colts should I choose for my heist, and what would their specialties be? 5, that's a lot.
Skoog, that is a lot. This is similar to our
Area 51, yeah.
Yeah, Area 51 question from a few weeks back. Okay, I think I wanted Kenny Moore to slide into some smaller spots.
Yep.
I think I'd want Andrew Luck for his intelligence. At some point, you're going to have to, have a back and forth where you got to be smart. So I think I want Andrew Luck. I want Darius Leonard for pure athleticism. What else, man? In every movie, there's a moment where you probably have to use your foot for something. Do I want Adam Vinatieri?
Yeah, you got, brute strength is probably
Nelson.
Something. Yeah, you go one of the offensive linemen. Or Luke Rhodes.
Ooh,
I think Luke Rhodes,
yeah.
Because the guards would probably have some sort of similar build.
Correct.
And
he could maybe dress up like a guard.
True. and
I
leave
like that.
them. Yeah, and people will be like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Okay, I'm going to go with Leonard, Moore, Luck, Rhodes. And you know a guy that I think wouldn't be afraid to just bash his head against the wall? Did I say Nelson?
No.
I'm going to go Matthew Adams.
Ooh.
I don't think he has a regard for his body.
Okay.
Which, at some point, you're going to need that. Someone's got to sacrifice
Right.
themselves.
Or Margus Hunt.
Big. But does he stick out too much?
Yeah, but he reminds me kind of the guy off Longest Yard. I don't know if you've seen it with Adam Sandler. That huge monster of a man.
Yes. Good one.
Forget his name.
Great question, Scoop.
Yeah, always.
Good luck.
Always making us think. Yeah. This is from Justin. What do you think of the Ed Oliver and Quentin Nelson matchup?
Nice matchup. Ed Oliver is going to be a good player in the NFL. There were moments that Nelson certainly more than held his own. I really only noticed one poor play from Nelson, maybe two. Buffalo's got a decent defense, don't they?
Yeah, they had a lot of juice.
Yeah.
Edmonds, Oliver.
Yeah. Tre'Davious White is a great cornerback they have. Jerry Hughes is obviously resurrected that career. Micah Hyde has found a nice home for him.
At Lou Hooser says you have the Colts running the most vanilla, predictable play calls, and you have the Browns running no huddle, hurry up offense, looking like they're trying to win the game with 2 minutes left. Just differences in preseason philosophy?
Yeah, I think it's that. And it's also a second-year quarterback versus, not a second-year quarterback. Frank Reich doesn't want to show anything schematically in the preseason. He just doesn't. Whereas Freddie Kitchens, it's a new coach. Baker Mayfield, new weapons on that offense as well. I think there's a little bit more learning to do with that. Frank Reich I don't think, is in the same situation.
Frank Fallon, do you think the last night's game will send the Colts into a tailspin that they won't recover, resulting in a 3-13 season?
Oh, my God. Is that serious? Do you think that's real?
No.
I kind of hope it's real. It's always good to have a couple crazies. That's not real.
Nah.
Moving on.
Okay.
Thanks, Frank, for sending in the question.
From JR, do you think the Colts will be prepared for the beginning of the season, given the lack of reps, luck, and possibly him not feeling 100%?
Well, I think that's very fair, JR. I've said it before, and I know I'll talk about it more in the coming months, so I won't drill the Andrew Luck calf worries home. I think you guys know that I have questions about just how effective he can be week one and how Andrew Luck-like he can look week one. So, I think it's... I'll say this about Luck. All right, tomorrow's Saturday, Joey.
Yes.
He could return to practice Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect that his first week back to practice would be similar to what he did early on in camp. Some individuals, some 7-on-7. You aren't just going to throw him in team drills. I don't think he'll do 11-on-11 against the Browns. So that takes us to a week from Monday, August 19th. That's a full week leading into the Bears. 3 weeks from the regular season at that point. The following week, you practice just twice because you have a Thursday nighter against the Bengals. That following week, that's the week you get ready for the Chargers. That's week one.
Yeah.
So you have potentially one full week, August 19th, for Andrew Luck to take be full throttle, if you will, in team sessions and not be limited. So this window, right now, we're, 4 weeks from Sunday away from the regular season?
I thought we were less than that. But yeah, I guess that makes sense.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Yeah, 4 weeks from Sunday, 4 actual Sundays away from the opener. It's a shrinking window. And that's what Frank Reich wants. Frank Reich has been adamant. The next step for Andrew Luck, or the step that we need to get him to, is a full participant in a full week of practice. And right now, I still think he's at least a week away from doing that.
From Cab Hill, at Pacers fan, 334, want to get their 2 cents in. EJ Speed has been showing flashes of being a big-time player. How does Speed complement Okereke and Leonard if they're all in the field?
A lot of length, a lot of speed, man. I was talking to Dave Borgonzi, the linebackers coach, last week, and I asked him about that exact trio. We've seen it a few times in practice, and he's just like, that's a good-looking group.
Yeah.
That is a good-looking group. It's 6'1" to
They pop,
6'3", long wingspans. and guys that can run. So I think EJ Speed is in a very similar mold to Darius Leonard and Bobby Okereke in terms of physical traits.
From Brandon, could George Odom be a potential starter alongside Malik Hooker if Clayton Geathers can stay healthy / doesn't perform well this season? I've been hearing good things about him so far in camp.
Yeah, good things, but he's the fourth safety. Kari Willis was ahead of him, as you saw last night, is ahead of him. So, yeah, right now I would say George Odom is your fourth safety, so still a little bit of climbing to do for him to climb into that potential starting role if Clayton's hurt.
Jared wants to know, if everyone played at their full potential, which formation / personnel group do you think would cause opposing defenses the most trouble to game plan for? I'm leaning with a 4 wide receiver set with Funchess out wide, Trips opposite side with T.Y., Kane, and Campbell, and Hines out of the backfield. # speed.
Yeah, that's speedy. He's got Ebron, did he say?
No Ebron. Funchess out wide.
Those 4 receivers?
Trips opposite side with T.Y., Kane, and Campbell. Hines coming out of the backfield.
With Kane. Wow. That's good. I like that. A lot of things come into my mind. Frank Reich would have to throw a tight end on the field because he wants to be unpredictable in the run game. I might throw one tight end out there. Maybe Doyle, just to feel like if there's a 3rd and 2, you could run it. And then I would take maybe... So I guess I'd take Kane off. Kane or Funchess. I don't know. I mean, this is down the road, but I think if Deion Kane can get healthy, what I've seen from Devin Funchess so far is just when Deion Kane is healthy, I don't know if there's going to be a huge amount of separation between the two. But Campbell is an absolute must, and probably Hines as well, because you want to be sort of, here's the ball, go run and make people miss.
Do we have any expectation for Campbell when he's going to be
that's
ready to roll?
One. I mean, he's out there every day. He looks to be okay. Like, Luck isn't out there every day. Jabal Sheard isn't out there every day.
Yeah.
It seems to be we get no injury updates of substance this time of year, which the NFL doesn't mandate anything this time of year. So I have a feeling Campbell will get back soon, but hamstrings I feel like always worry me for quick guys. And then you wonder if, like, the Anthony Costanzo situation, like, worries the Colts even more from last year.
Just hold on. We're getting ready for the Chargers.
Right.
That's their.
But I think I don't know. I think this missed time for Campbell is pretty critical.
Yeah. From @OldDanner, has Brissett's trade value increased or decreased with Luck being out?
I don't know. I don't think it's gone one way or the other. Jacoby Brissett's going to be a Colt in 2019. He's not going to get traded. I think we can rest that. Chad Kelly's not going to be your backup week 1. He can't be. So, Jacoby Brissett, week 1 on the Colts roster.
From Andrew, after watching the first team offense last night, how worried should we be about Luck being ready for week 1?
You didn't need to watch last night. I mean, if you aren't worried just in general, like, Andrew Luck needs to be on this football team to reach the goals you want to reach. Point blank. I mean, what we saw last night, Joey, that's not too different from what we've seen the first 11 days at Grand Park.
Yeah.
And to be fair to the offense, Ryan Kelly's missed 5 straight days. Anthony Costanzo's had a couple rest days. Jack Doyle's missed over a week. Eric Ebron's missed a few days. T.Y. Hilton's had some maintenance days. Like, that offense has missed some key parts. But not Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack's been out there every practice. Pretty good for him.
Zach says he's a longtime fan, Kevin.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Zach.
And he wants to know if you can predict the week 1 score against the Chargers.
Oh, boy. Well, maybe you won't be a fan after this. 24-20 Chargers.
I was going to go 27-23 Chargers.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's really close to what I was thinking.
Yeah, for sure. So the streak will continue.
Yeah. Gosh.
Was that 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah, 2013 against Oakland. Terrell Pryor was Oakland's starting quarterback.
That's right. That's right. Even that one came down the wire. I remember that. From Suarez, what are your thoughts on the camp that Braden Smith is having?
Okay. Nothing dominant, nothing too alarming. He had a groin injury, I think. Missed a couple days. Obviously didn't look good last night. But yeah, I mean, I haven't noticed anything too I mean, the Colts haven't been as many live periods I thought they would be. The one day they had the live periods, and those were all reserves.
Mm-hmm.
What have they had? 5 full padded practices. But yeah, I mean, Braden, yeah.
Eric Richardson asks, is there a roster spot for Carroll Phillips to find his way on the team?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look at your backup DNs. Let's assume Sheard's on the week 1 roster. Okay, you got Justin Houston, you have Jabal Sheard. Toure, Banogu, Al-Qadim Muhammad. That's 5 defensive ends. Yeah, you just don't have room. Banogu's another guy that needs to get healthy too.
Yeah, not doing himself
He's missed
any
over a
favors.
week. No rookie, no top 4-round rookie the Colts took in April has dropped more in what we thought of them after the draft than Banogu. I mean, he's fallen. Now injuries have played into it, but still.
From Travis, I want to know your roster predictions for wide receiver and defensive end for the 53-man.
Well, I just gave the D end one. Wide out. I would cap it at 5 with Chester Rogers. I would.
He's pushing for Fountain.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to push a little harder. Maybe Zach Pascal as at 6, but I mean, hell, Joey, think back to when I created that 53-man roster after the spring. Should I do another one, do you think, before the final week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially
maybe after the Browns game.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that point I had 3 running backs, 5 wideouts, and 4 tight ends. Some people want 4 running backs and 6 receivers. So it's like, all right, now you're gonna make me pull 2 numbers away from somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
I already thought I was shortchanging some other positions. It's tough, man.
Couple more here that I have. One from at Red Blooded Sport. Any surprises possible roster-wise at tight end with the final 53?
Well, I'm really curious to see what happens to Ross Travis, another guy that's been hurt. Hamstring injury for him now about the last week and a half. I think you keep 4. Gabe Holmes started last night, number 47, Purdue's finest. I would assume Holmes, Henches, or Travis makes the team. I think you keep 4.
Mm-hmm.
3 are locks. We know that, but that'll be something to monitor the next few weeks.
And Seraphin Hammer, is Kelly a legit backup in case the Colts want to trade Brissett or when he walks in free agency? Kelly looked sharp yesterday. Good arm, good running game. Dude can play.
Okay, it's the 4th quarter of preseason game. Now, let's also throw in the caveat, Chad Kelly was Denver's backup last year. Like, this isn't Brian Bennett as your 4th-string quarterback, or I'm trying to think of some of those quarterbacks they've had in the past. I tried to erase them from my memory. So Chad Kelly has talent, more talent than a usual 4th-stringer has. How I look at Chad Kelly is this. Behave, show that you can play quarterback, have a year on the practice squad. Next year, Colts bring in a veteran. That veteran competes with Chad Kelly to be Andrew Luck's backup in 2020. That's how I look at things for swag.
There you go. Laid it out. What do you got?
I just want to reiterate that I think the Colts were really healthy last night. That's it. I mean, I felt like they were really healthy, and that was one of my keys to the game. It'll be a key in every preseason game.
Yeah, I mean, with all that stuff that went on with Reese Fountain, with any of the roster battles, the biggest one until September 8th is that.
You probably have a better pulse on the NFL league-wide than I do right now. Nick Bosa carted off for a high ankle sprain. Mm-hmm. A.J. Green is out X amount of time.
Yep.
Who else am I missing this headline? I mean, AB's dealing with his issue. That whatever that is. I mean, there are some significant names that are already out. So if you can survive preseason games, that's great. Yeah. That's all I got, man.
All right. Right on.
1075thefan.com. Our notebook coverage, Joey, I feel like has been pretty good all camp long. There's 5 more practices left at Grand Park. So the Colts will be up at Grand Park Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all morning practices, off day Tuesday, later practices Wednesday, Thursday. I want to say it's like 4 to 6 against the Browns.
Really?
Those 2 days, yeah. I think they're trying to get into drive time slot people, and probably the Browns want to have a walkthrough or something earlier in the day at Grand Park, things like that. Then Friday is off, and they're done. They're home. Saturday, preseason game against the Browns at Lucas Oil Stadium. For fans that are going to Grand Park Saturday morning, I will be at Tom Roush Mazda in Westfield from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. So stop there. Let's talk Colts. Joey, chance to win a free Mazda sedan.
Yeah, that's a nice ride.
2019.
Nice
Very
ride.
enticing. And honestly, more importantly for me, because thankfully I just bought a new car, there's free Donato's Pizza. And there's free beer from Field Brewing in Westfield.
Let's go. You're going to have to drag you out of there.
Dude, I've said it before. Things I love in life. I love my wife.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, so much.
That's good.
I love Tiger Woods.
Uh-huh.
And I love Donato's Pizza.
Sometimes the line blurred there. Sometimes.
No, let's not go there. Let's not go there. No, come on. No.
That's bad. I'm sorry, Mrs.
I
Bowen.
got engaged on April 14th, 2018, and Tiger Woods won the Masters April 14th, 2019.
There it is. You guys have a telekinesis type of relationship.
We do. Donato's Pizza, I adore. I love it. I subscribe to their emails. I will never hit unsubscribe on the email. So I can't wait. Saturday.
You a thin crust guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Saturday, 1 to 3. Tom Roush Mazda, 169th and 31. As always, DMs are open. Twitter mentions are open. KBowen1070. Hit me up there. He's Joey Molinaro.
Also, real quick.
Yeah.
So after you guys go hang out with Kevin, Tom Roush Mazda on Saturday afternoon, get your rest in, come up to Colts practice on Sunday morning. Myself and Jersey Johnny will be doing a live show from up there at camp, hoping to get a player or two to come stop by. Come stop by and say hey if you're up there at practice.
And if you haven't been up to Grand Park yet, where Joey and Jersey will be set up, it'll be the far practice field, the most northern practice field, if you have your compass out, to the left in the end zone, just off the end zone. Come out there. There's a bunch of 1070 signage. You're going to see it out there. But, yeah, what do you guys, 10 to noon?
Yep.
10 to noon.
Practice 9 to 11.
Yeah, practice 9 to 11. Yep. So, yeah, we hope you guys have appreciated all the training camp coverage we've had, also on our YouTube page as well. Check that out if you haven't. And we'll probably be back. If something crazy happened news-wise, we'll be back next week. If not, we might wait till the Browns game. I like recapping preseason games right after that. And we'll also talk joint practices. To me, it seems stupid to have a podcast next Friday morning after the Browns joint practices, and then they have a preseason game the next day.
Okay.
That's me.
True.
Everybody have a great weekend. See ya.